Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Today, OpenAI CFO throws cold water on a $600 billion spending spree, AI agents are mass applying for your job, and Wall Street's wealthiest clients are panicking over what their kids will actually do for a living.
Yeah, it is a very heavy board today.
It really is. So we're diving deep into the raw data feed with you today to separate the signal from the hype and figure out who is actually winning and losing in the markets right now.
Let's get into it.
We have to start with this massive macroeconomic earthquake playing out on Polymuppet today. So Sarah Fryer, she's the CFO at OpenAI, is reportedly sounding the alarm internally over CEO Sam Altman's aggressive spending plans.
Right, the infrastructure rollout.
Exactly. The sheer scale of this is just, well, it's hard to fathom. They are proposing a $600 billion 5-year infrastructure rollout. And Fryer is questioning this incredibly high cash burn, particularly amid signs of slowing revenue growth.
Which is completely understandable.
Right. And the internal friction has reached the point where polymarket traders are currently giving only a 36% chance of an OpenAI IPO by the end of 2026.
I mean, the second-order effects of that kind of capital addiction are what we really need to examine here. When a company has, theoretical access to a $600 billion war chest, you have to ask whether these AI giants are building sustainable businesses.
Or if they're just like massive incinerators for venture capital.
Yeah, exactly. Because building server farms at that scale assumes a level of future demand that just might not materialize. It completely removes the necessity to optimize your product.
And that lack of discipline is exactly what the polymarket traders are pricing in. It feels like, I don't know, it's like trying to build an interconnected global 10-lane highway system before anyone has even test-driven the cars.
That's a great analogy.
You're just laying down endless concrete, assuming traffic will magically appear to justify the toll booths. And historically, paradigm-shifting companies rarely survive by just throwing unlimited cash at a wall.
Well, look at the counter-narrative that went viral today from XFreeze. They detailed Tesla's near-death experience back in 2012 and 2013.
Oh, the George Blankenship story.
Yes. George Blankenship, who was a key executive there at the time, shared this incredibly emotional account of what raw startup grit actually looks like. So coming out of a quarter where Tesla produced a grand total of 12 cars.
Just 12 cars? That is wild.
Right. They were staring down bankruptcy. And they needed to deliver exactly 4,750 Model S vehicles in Q1 just to hit baseline profitability. It was a literal do-or-die moment.
They couldn't just, issue a press release and raise another $50 billion to smooth over a bad quarter.
No, they had nothing but desperation. Blankenship described this scenario where the entire corporate structure collapsed into one unified goal. They had employees from accounting, marketing, HR. They were out in the lots physically washing cars.
Wait, the accountants were out there washing cars?
Yes. And they were personally driving these deliveries to customers' driveways just to meet a hard Saturday 3 p.m. deadline. And because of that unadulterated all-hands scramble, they managed to scrape together an $11 million profit.
Which sent the stock soaring, right?
Exactly, from $20 to $90. It essentially birthed the modern electric vehicle revolution. So it forces us to ask this critical question. Does infinite capital actually kill the raw grit required to build a revolution?
I mean, constraint forces elegance, while surplus just breeds bloat.
If OpenAI had to survive on fumes, they might be forced to engineer vastly more efficient models rather than just throwing a multi-billion-dollar server farm at every hurdle.
That's so true. But, even if the infrastructure spend at the top is completely bloated, the actual tools rolling off that assembly line are scaling vertically right now.
Oh, the velocity is terrifying.
Right. There's an explosion of capabilities hitting the market today. Take the meme that went around from Slow Developer, is ironically titled, "Bad News, LLMs are hitting a wall."
The irony being that the attached chart from METR shows the exact opposite of a wall.
Literally the exact opposite. The chart tracks the duration of autonomous tasks an AI can successfully complete. So back in 2019, a model like GPT-2 could handle something that took maybe a few minutes.
Right.
Fast forward to the projections for 2025 and 2026. And models like Claude Opus 4.6 are managing highly complex 10-hour software tasks completely autonomously. The so-called wall is just an exponential capability curve going straight up into the sky.
And when you hand an exponential vertical curve to a solo developer, they stop writing code snippets and start architecting entire companies over a weekend.
A perfect example of that popped up from Roundtable Space today. A developer showcased a complete end-to-end lead generation tool called Mapleads. And they built it in just 2 weeks using Claude Code.
Using vibe coding, I assume.
Yes, vibe coding. And for anyone listening who is unfamiliar with the term, Vibe coding means you aren't writing traditional syntax. You aren't typing out Python or JavaScript.
You just tell it what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You use natural language prompts to tell the AI exactly what you want the software to do, and the AI acts as your compiler, generating the entire backend. So Maplead scrapes every business off Google Maps, pulling 30 different data fields. It grabs verified emails, live social profiles.
Which is standard scraping, but the logic is what's crazy.
Yes. The wild part is the logic loop. It reads up to 50 Google reviews for each business to identify specific customer complaints, and then automatically writes a hyper-tailored cold email offering a software solution to that exact pain point.
So one person vibe coded a 20-person sales, marketing, and research department in a fortnight.
Pretty much. We're seeing this velocity everywhere. At the Cursor AI Vibe Coding Game Jam, Level of EO shared updates from day 3. There was a $35,000 prize pool, but the core mandate is that 90% of the code must be AI generated.
So human participants are essentially acting as creative directors at this point.
Exactly. They're shipping instant-load multiplayer web games like Rise-Fall RPG and Vibe Theft Auto in a matter of days. Guillermo Rauch, the CEO of Vercel, noted today that modern platforms are giving developers this unprecedented velocity. They can ship a product, get real-time feedback on X, and have the AI implement structural updates hours later.
Look, while that is amazing, I am trying to wrap my head around the logistics of this creeping into the broader economy. We really have to look at who is getting crushed by this sheer velocity.
Right, the second-order effects on the job market.
Exactly. If you are looking for a job right now, Hestimation pointed out today that your competition isn't just a laid-off senior developer from Amazon anymore.
You're competing against AI agents.
You are now competing against literal instances of Claude Code and OpenClaw. The mechanics of the job market are fundamentally breaking under this pressure.
Just how exactly are they doing it?
These open source systems aren't just giving people resume advice. They are acting as terminal dashboards, scanning HTML elements on career pages across 45 different companies simultaneously. The agent reads the job description, maps your experience to their specific text boxes, rewrites your CV on the fly.
Wow. To match the exact keywords.
Yes, to match the exact keywords the employer is looking for. Then it generates a custom PDF cover letter and executes the submit command. One user documented landing a job after letting their AI agent autonomously submit over 700 tailored applications.
That is insane. If I'm an HR manager, am I suddenly dealing with a denial of service attack of resumes from just one applicant?
Essentially, yes.
Imagine being a human applicant sending out 5 carefully crafted resumes a week. You are mathematically eliminated from the hiring pool before a human HR representative even boots up their computer.
The volume makes human participation statistically irrelevant, and the developers building these agents are seeing them push the absolute boundaries of our operating systems. Peter Steinberger, under the handle Stipede, was testing GPT 5.4 upgrades using OpenClaw today.
And what happened?
Another engineer shared a screenshot of the agent failing spectacularly. The AI received a sig-kill command from Node.js.
Wait, meaning the operating system had to step in and forcefully terminate the AI process?
The OS essentially had to take a sniper rifle to a runaway process because the autonomous agent was trying to rewrite locked system files to achieve its goal. It broke the rules of the environment.
Oh, wow.
So yes, it fails, and it causes terminal errors, but the sheer ambition of these autonomous agents roaming through our operating systems and job boards is undeniable. They will keep probing until they find a way through.
Which brings a very stark reality to Wall Street. Zero Hedge highlighted a quote today from Adam Jonas, an analyst at Morgan Stanley. He noted that the single most frequent question he is fielding from his wealthiest clients right now is simply, what will our kids do?
It indicates a very deep structural anxiety.
It really does.
Business leaders are recognizing that this wave of automation isn't just disrupting blue-collar labor or optimizing factory floors. It is fundamentally threatening the traditional white-collar career pipeline. If an AI can vibe code a software startup in 2 weeks, and another AI can aggressively apply for 700 jobs before lunch,
Right.
we have to ask if this is just standard economic efficiency or if the fundamental premise of the knowledge work economy is breaking down entirely.
So if you are sitting here listening to this, watching your corporate pipeline get threatened by a DDoS attack of AI resumes, you're probably wondering what your next move actually is.
Yeah.
And the only viable path forward seems to be transforming into a hyper-leveraged individual.
Well, the creator economy has been pushing that thesis aggressively for a while now. They frame the individual as the ultimate enterprise.
And the argument from the Danko today captures that perfectly. He argues that a single person today wields more operational power than a 20-person company from the past. The internet provides the ability to learn any skill, social media provides the distribution network to reach anyone, and AI provides the production engine.
The barrier to entry has literally never been lower.
Exactly. You don't need a team, you just need an internet connection and a good prompt. So I feel like that pushes back a bit on the doom and gloom.
I mean, the math on that leverage is sound. The capability is undeniably there. But we need to seriously evaluate the quality of the digital world this hyper-leverage creates.
What do you mean?
Well, Dustin, posting under the handle RO0CK3T23, offered a brilliant, cynical analysis of a recent Mark Zuckerberg interview today. Zuckerberg casually dropped a statistic that social media started as a place to interact with your real-life friends, but now more than 50% of the content in your feed is creator-driven.
You're basically looking at a feed dominated by strangers who are optimizing their output purely to hijack your attention.
Exactly. And Dustin warned that AI is simply the final evolution of that erosion. The next step is replacing human creators entirely with tireless, perfectly calibrated digital personas.
Because an AI doesn't burn out or need sleep.
An AI creator doesn't suffer from burnout, it doesn't need a vacation, and it never has an inconsistent posting schedule. It will continuously analyze the algorithm and produce perfectly optimized content designed solely to retain your eyeballs.
So it buries real connection.
When feeds optimize entirely for retention rather than relationships, authentic human connection just gets buried under a mountain of synthesized engagement.
But the assumption there is that the AI will always produce compelling content. And right now, these models still generate an incredible amount of garbage. They hallucinate, they lose the plot, and they create a ton of noise.
That exact noise problem is already becoming a massive bottleneck. Look at Chamath Palihapitiya today. He asked the developer community on X how to automatically sync his various AI chat histories into a structured knowledge base.
The goal being that his systems would remember past brainstorms, learn his preferences, and refine their outputs over time.
Right, without him having to repeat himself. But a developer named Lorenzo replied to Chamath and explained why that's a mess. He called the phenomenon knowledge base decay.
Knowledge base decay.
Yeah, if you just pipe raw AI chat logs into a database, you are saving all the dead ends, the prompt corrections, and the absolute nonsense the AI generated before it finally arrived at the right answer.
Oh, I see. Auto-syncing all your raw AI chats sounds like trying to write a brilliant novel, but forcing the publisher to print every single typo, crossed out sentence, and spilled coffee stain on the final page. It pollutes the actual insight.
That is the perfect analogy. Lorenzo pointed out that you still desperately need a human being to manually curate the value from the noise before storing it. It requires heavy, exhausting human judgment, which proves that the narrative of AI autonomously solves everything perfectly is still a myth.
Right. And if centralized AI platforms are filling our digital space with automated garbage, hallucinated noise, and highly surveyed feeds, it makes perfect sense that the ultimate counterculture move right now is to go completely offline.
Which brings us to the global and geopolitical side of things.
Exactly. Jack Dorsey posted today that his app, BitChat, has been officially pulled from the China App Store. Now, to understand the geopolitical friction here, you have to understand the mechanics of the app itself. BitChat is a decentralized messaging tool utilizing Bluetooth mesh networks.
So instead of your phone communicating with a centralized cell tower that a government or a corporation controls, it communicates directly with the devices around it?
Yes, it turns every individual phone into its own mini tower. It passes messages along like a digital bucket brigade from device to device until it reaches the intended recipient. It allows for completely offline, serverless communication without an internet connection.
And China banned it.
Yeah, China's Cyberspace Administration ordered it removed specifically because it enables public opinions or social mobilization. It is the ultimate censorship-resistant technology. It bypasses the traditional choke points of the internet, proving that the new frontier of global state control isn't just about managing web traffic. It is about controlling the physical, device-to-device infrastructure in the real world.
When you look at how nation-states wield power against these technological shifts, there's often a massive disconnect between their tactical capabilities and their strategic realities.
Definitely.
Matthew Gazius touched on this brilliantly today regarding the limits of American military power. He highlighted a consistent theme of the last 25 years. The U.S. military is tactically brilliant. He cited a recent Wall Street Journal report detailing an incredibly complex, highly demanding Air Force search and rescue operation in Iran.
Which is wild. Pulling off an operation like that requires an astonishing level of coordination and technological superiority.
It is a tactical miracle. But Iglesias points out that this brilliance tricks politicians into thinking they can achieve impossible strategic goals. Because a military has the technological capability to pull off a flawless midnight raid in hostile territory, leadership assumes they can use that same force to completely restructure the political reality of an entire region.
Which rarely works out.
He contrasts that hubris with a much more grounded, strategically attainable objective, like providing logistical aid to Ukraine against a neighboring power. The advanced technology provides the illusion of omnipotence, but the physical reality of geopolitics remains stubbornly messy and resistant to clean technological solutions.
And if you want proof that our strategic and cultural reality is getting messier and completely outpacing fiction, there was a viral post today from Rhys Sullivan. And just to be clear for the listeners, we are looking at this purely as a commentary on the media landscape and the cultural vibe. We aren't taking any sides.
Right, impartial analysis of the culture.
So the post was reacting to a headline from Ziteo detailing a message from Donald Trump on Easter Sunday, where he apparently praised Allah while simultaneously threatening Iranian infrastructure.
I mean, the juxtaposition of an Easter message, a reference to Allah, and threats to foreign infrastructure all in one breath is certainly jarring.
It is. And Ray Sullivan's observation, which quickly racked up over 50,000 likes, captured the collective exhaustion perfectly. He basically asked, if you are a writer for the satirical site The Onion, do you just give up at this point?
Because you can't out-parody reality anymore.
Exactly. How do you sit in a writer's room and try to craft a parody article when the actual real-world events involving global political figures are vastly more absurd than anything your team could invent? Reality is running so fast that satire literally cannot keep up.
It is the death of parody. And it's fueled by an attention economy that actively rewards the most unpredictable, high-variance behavior. When the algorithms demand constant shock to maintain engagement, public figures start acting like randomized prompt generators just to break through the overwhelming digital noise.
So synthesizing all of this for you as we look at the board today, we are watching a massive tectonic shift in how leverage is applied. On one side, you have institutional capital trying to throw $600 billion at AI infrastructure, building massive centralized models while burning through cash.
Trying to own the foundational layer.
Right. And on the other side, you have incredibly nimble individuals using those exact same tools to vibe code entire corporate teams out of existence, launch denial-of-service attacks on corporate job boards, or build offline device-to-device resistance networks to completely bypass state censorship.
It is an inevitable collision course between top-down control and bottom-up chaos. And based on what we're seeing with these automated job applications, I actually have a very specific prediction for tomorrow.
Oh, let's hear it.
Look for traditional legacy tech companies to quietly start altering their hiring portals. They are going to introduce bizarre new friction-hidden CAPTCHAs, weirdly formatted PDF requirements, or questions that require hyper-specific human context specifically designed to block AI agents from applying.
So an arms race.
We are about to witness a massive, exhausting cat-and-mouse game between corporate HR departments and open-source terminal models like OpenClaw. The hiring market is going to devolve into an absolute arms race of bot versus bot.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought to mull over today. If an AI can now perfectly mimic the engagement style of a human creator, and AI agents are out there automatically applying for jobs on our behalf, and AI bots in HR departments are screening those exact same resumes, at what point does the internet just become a closed loop?
That is a fascinating question.
Are we building a digital economy where AI bots are exclusively making content, writing applications, and sending emails purely for other AI bots to consume, analyze, and reject? When the entire system is just machines talking to machines at lightning speed, where exactly does the human fit in the loop? Keep your signal clear and your vibe intact. See you tomorrow.